What is up, everybody? It is a beautiful day, and today we're going to do something that I am really excited about. We finally get to start working on the Datsun. Today is all about getting this thing running, see if we can get it to fire. So let me run you through the list of parts we have. Of course, new oil filter and engine oil. This stuff is really good, the high mileage stuff. We've got ourselves a fuel filter right here. Super important. When you want to get the vehicle started, you got to make sure that the fuel is coming out as clean as possible. We have these beautiful blue NGK ignition wires. There we go. Beautiful blue NGK ignition wires right here. And of course, we got to pair those with some NGK spark plugs. These do come pre-gapped, so we don't have to worry about that. Obviously, a battery. And you got to include the terminal protectors here to limit as much corrosion as possible, especially on an older car like this. And this little box here is probably the most important part for getting this thing starting. It is a new ignition cylinder. So that's what we have to start off for now. First order of business. I already showed you in the last video when we did a walkthrough of this vehicle, but right down here is this redneck spaghetti. So I'm gonna go ahead and start diving into this thing and see if I can get it deciphered, because if we don't have functional ignition cylinder, we can't get power to the rest of the vehicle. So I'm gonna start working on that. I'll give you guys an update once I get it semi figured out. Okay, here's an update on the situation with the funky ignition wires. So right here's the new ignition cylinder that I have. This is OEM spec, and on the back are these little terminal posts. And you can't read it, but there's little letters in between each of these. B for battery, S for starter, A for accessory, and IG for ignition. And R is this guy for ballast resistor, which we won't need because this is a fuel-injected engine. Now that one's gonna work because it'll mount to the steering column and all the wires will go in where they're supposed to. You know, to replace this crappy, I don't even know what this was, but these were the 4 wires connected to that guy. And in this wiring harness, looks like a mess, but those 4 are exactly what we want. So there's this yellow wire, this black and red, then this, I believe, blue and white, and then this black and white wire. The nice thing about this is Nissan uses a very simple color coding system to correspond with the labeled terminals. So I don't think this is going to be like a super big problem to get these wired up. It's just a case of crimping new connectors on there and then tossing the battery in and seeing what happens. So I'll update you once I get that new ignition cylinder wired in, and we'll see what happens with that. I was in the middle of unwrapping all of these wires here to get them put back on the ignition switch, and I figured I'd show you guys what I found. What in the redneck is this? What is that? What kind of wiring is this? Jeez, I don't even know what I'm gonna find under. Look at that. That's probably the same thing. Like, these guys have never heard of AutoZone wire connectors. They're like $5. Anyways, I just got the wiring cleaned up a little bit. Let me show you what I've got so far. So I redid all of these crappy connections here, crimped them, wrapped them up. And then I put on these female end bits here because that will help me plug it directly into the ignition switch really easy. So the color coding for these wires, pretty simple. This thick boy, you can probably guess, is going to be the power from battery. Red and black is going to be the starter. The yellow is going to be accessory power. And then this is the run circuit here. I believe this black and white. So the hard part is done. All I got to do is plug the respective wires into the respective spots on the ignition cylinder. Then after that, we can go ahead and put the battery in the battery spot, wire it up, and see what happens if I turn the key. So we're making progress. Okay, the new ignition switch is in. Let me show you what it looks like. Kind of janky here, but I've got everything plugged into where it goes. I've got it resting on this box here so that it doesn't pull on the wires unnecessarily. So we're going to go over here and grab this battery, toss it in, and see what happens. let's just see what happens when we put a key in. If we did everything right, something should happen. If we also didn't do everything right, then nothing will happen. So let's set you down over here. Let's just give her a crank. Let's just give her a crank and see what happens. That's like, you know, story of my life. These also came with the ignition cylinder. If I blew up and died, it's your guys' fault because you didn't warn me. Okay. Lock. Off. I'm not expecting anything. Well, obviously, we connected the wrong wires because our off is the start. Accessory is start. Whoa! So start and accessory are swapped. Wow. Wipers, lights, good to know. Good to know. Let's swap those two. Try that again. All right. Okay, I believe I have it. I swapped the ignition and accessory wires. So now, key in, off, accessory, there's the wipers. Okay, that works. On, fuel pump. That's good. Lights are on, brake is on, seatbelt's on, oil light is off. Voltage looks good. Let's crank it. Whoa, she's alive, holy cow. Oh my gosh, looks like we have no fuel. Fuel gauge looks dead. Let's crank it one more time just to see what we get. Okay, I'm actually curious, what happens if I turn the radio on? How do I turn the radio on? Nope, AC. Okay, let's not waste our battery. We're getting somewhere. We are making lots of progress. Okay, I'm actually excited. This is good. I'm gonna get fuel, put it in the gas tank, and then off camera, I'm also going to mount that up to the steering column. We'll crank it again, see if it just needs gas. I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, so it's a new day, so I'll kind of show you what I've been working with here. I went ahead and drilled out the studs that hold this thing on. They had clamped kind of like a press fit, so I had to take this drill and just drill them out. This was the rusty old ignition cylinder. So now that this steering column section is nice and clean, I can take my new ignition cylinder that I just wired up and then I can get that fitted on there so I don't have to have it make this whole footwell area look like a mess. So I'm gonna get that put in. Okay, got the new ignition cylinder put in. It's all screwed in. Got the cover plate back on. Wires all tucked nice. Let me kind of show you what I'm working. Sits nice and pretty right there where it goes. Okay, I'll move on with the rest of the stuff I had prepared for today while we still have some daylight out, which is these ignition wires, spark plugs, fuel filter. I really want to try and crank this thing with gas to see if it does anything different. So I'm gonna get started on that. Okay, got these dirty old ignition wires replaced. Thank goodness I did, because number one, look at these pretty blue wires. They look so much nicer. And number two, let's see if you guys can tell me what's wrong with these guys here. Number one, doesn't look too good. Yeah, I don't think they're supposed to look like that. Honestly, the other four aren't much better. So, while we still have some sun shining into the garage, I'm gonna go ahead and replace the fuel filter there. So, let me set you guys up and get a proper angle with my, there we go. Perfect. Please and thank you. Dry, bone dry. Fuel has gotten there before, which was good. We did hear the pump running. That was pretty good. Ah, we're good. Let's put some gas in this thing and see what happens. Okay, we just put 5 gallons of regular in the tank. Spark plugs and wires are done. Fuel filters in. Batteries, I'll connect that. I don't have any expectations for this. It's just to see what happens. So let me put you up on a good spot. And then you can see the car either blow up, run, or nothing happens. Maybe it lights on fire because I spilled a little gasoline. Give her a crank. Let's crank it with some gas pedal. Just as I thought, this isn't going to be that easy. It cranks for a while. I do want to check and see if fuel comes out of those fuel lines, because if it does, then that means our problem's up in the front of the car with the ejectors or something like that. But if they're bone dry, then that means we've got to start in the back of the car. If we do find fuel in the fuel lines to the fuel filter, then that means we're getting fuel pressure. But that's all for today. I'll see you guys when the sun's back out again. All right, it's another day, and this morning we're going to be working on troubleshooting, seeing where the fuel is going and where the fuel isn't going. I'm going to start diving into fuses to make sure that we don't have any electrical connections that are inhibiting things from sending the fuel where it's supposed to go. Injectors, pump, that sort of thing. Then I'm going to see if we actually have any pressure from our fuel pump. I'll start by disconnecting this fuel hose here. So the direction of flow is actually from the bottom of the fuel pump out the top, and that sends it into the fuel rail here. So if I pull this hose off, if I prime the fuel pump, hypothetically I should get flow out of that hose. If that's the case, then that limits me to the front of the engine in terms of where a fueling issue should be. So far we're going to start with that. Check the fuses, check fuel flow. We'll just proceed accordingly. Okay, all the fuses looked in order. So right now what I have is I've just kind of hooked up this little simple catch can here. I've got this old Gatorade bottle and I've got the fuel feed hose just going right into it. And so I'm gonna see if we get any fuel pressure. There was no fuel when I pulled this off, and I did crank this engine a couple times beforehand. So we'll see if we get anything. This will kind of tell us if we're even getting fuel pressure at all, and that could be our biggest issue. So I'm gonna set you guys up, and then I'm gonna reconnect the battery, prime the fuel pump, and see if we get any fluid flow into our catch can. Power. Accessory power. Crank it. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it sounds like a fuel pump to me, which has got me thinking there must be some blockage in between the fuel pump and that fuel filter, which means I gotta dive into these fuel lines and see where the fuel's not coming through. So I'm gonna do a bit of poking around, see why the fuel pump is priming but no fuel is coming out. Maybe just disconnect like the closest hose back there and see if I get anything, or if it's like a clog in the tank, which would suck because I've been really dreading the day that I have to clean this gas tank out. I'll let you know how that goes. Okay, I'm on here taking a look at the fuel pump. Let me turn on the light so you guys can see. Right here we have our fuel pump, the line coming from the fuel tank, and then this is our fuel feed line that goes into this pressure regulator, I believe, and then this hose connects to the hard lines that run up to the front of the car. Now I have this guy, just kind of, you know, our beautiful catch can, and I'm gonna prime the fuel pump and see if I get trickle coming from out of the regulator, because that means that our hard lines are clogged. But I'm gonna put you guys down here so you can watch it. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna go prime the pump, see what we got. Okay, what do we got? Probably nothing. Didn't hear any fuel. Ashy dry. Okay, so we have no fuel coming out. And you guys really hear that fuel pump. It was quite loud. So we know for sure that guy's kicking on. It's making me think that our fuel tank itself is actually clogged and not letting fuel run through into the fuel pump. But it could also be our pressure regulator that's sitting right at the end of that hose. So I'm gonna disconnect that guy, see if we get any fuel. If not, then I know that it's our tank that's cooked, and then I can probably get a new hose and then temporarily connect the fuel pump. Just drop a hose in like a jerry can or something. But we're getting somewhere. We're making traction. So I'm gonna disconnect that line, try it again. I doubt anything's gonna happen. I got a lot done off camera. We figured out that we weren't getting any fuel directly out of our fuel pump, right from the feed fitting when we prime it. We can hear it priming. It's pretty loud, which means the pump should be working properly. So what I've just gotten done, right here is the fuel tank. Now, I went ahead and pulled it out from underneath the car. This is that line right there is the feed line going directly into the fuel pump. So that's where it pulls the fuel out of the tank. And so I removed the sending unit here, just have it hanging out, and kind of took a peek inside the pan. It's kind of hard to tell, but inside there, it looks pretty decent. Overall, it's not bad. Not as bad as I was expecting, which means sending unit may be clogged or the sock may be clogged, unless the pump itself is actually bad and it just makes a lot of noise for no reason. What I kind of have set up here is this jerry-rigged catch can from our first attempt, and I have the feed line hanging down from the fuel pump, and I'm just gonna dip that directly into the top where the sending unit is supposed to be so I can get direct access to the fuel without having to go through the sending unit. And then we're just gonna see if the pump pushes it all the way through the filter into our Gatorade bottle. If that doesn't happen, I'll try seeing if I can just isolate the pump, have a line going into the pump and out the pump, and if fluid doesn't travel, the pump's bad, and that'll solve our problem. Connect the battery, prime the fuel pump, see if we get anything out of this guy. Huh. Bone dry. What do you know? Yeah, anyways, let's pull this fuel pump out and see if he does fuel pump things. I did a good bit of testing with this fuel pump underneath the car. Set up a little jerry rig, just a couple of hoses out either end, dunked it in a tank of gas, just to see if it would pull something. I got nothing. Reverse the polarity, because, you know, maybe it's backwards. It's always a good thing to check. Nothing. So I've come to the conclusion that this fuel pump is kind of trashed. So I'm gonna get a new one and redo all the rubber hoses, put the new fuel pump in, see if that gets me anywhere. I'm hoping it does. I'm pretty sure that that's the issue, but if not, then I know that I have a brand new fuel pump and I can move on to something else. But that's going to be it for today. It's about as far as I can get without ordering new parts, but we did make progress. We did make good progress. We pinpointed why the vehicle wasn't starting is because it didn't get any fuel, but going pretty good, I think. So I'll see you guys when I get those parts in. All right, it's been a month since the last time I worked on this thing, and I tried to get the fuel pump running to make sure that it could pull fuel into the fuel lines, but couldn't actually get it figured out. So this is what I went and did. I went ahead and ordered a new fuel pump here and a couple feet of fuel line, and then I went and got this inline fuel filter because if we have fuel coming straight into the fuel pump without a filter filtering it, that could create clogs and make this fuel pump less reliable. So I figured that's a good precaution, you know, just in case I want this thing to last longer. Old fuel pump's there, fuel tank is still out. We're going to hook the new one up with the new hose, kind of how we had it last time, and see if we can pull fuel just from the fuel tank into our little Gatorade bottle that we had. And then if that's all good, I'll replace some of the fuel lines that we've got, probably the ones going into the filter, and see if we can actually get pressure into our fuel line. And if all checks out, we could probably see if we get this thing started. I'll update you guys when I've got this whole thing rigged up and ready to go. So I'll show you what I got right now. I've got the new fuel pump wired up, and I'm gonna put it in the same rigging that we had with the other one. So we've got the Gatorade bottle there, new fuel pump right up there, and then I'm gonna hang this hose down into the fuel tank, and we'll see if it actually pulls fuel. All right, set you guys up and see if we get anything. Hopefully I wired this pump up correctly. I heard something. Let's try it again. See if we'll pull pressure some more. I don't see anything. Alright, let me figure out what I'm doing wrong. I have a confession to make. I don't know why you guys didn't tell me earlier. I don't even know how, I just barely realized this, but there's a reason why the fuel pump is mounted where it is in the OEM placement of the car. That's because these fuel pumps aren't high pressure pullers, they're actually gravity fed pushers. So they need to sit below the fuel source in order to actually move the fuel. So what that means is the setup that we had was incredibly stupid and was not going to work because the pump wasn't built to yank it from 2 feet below up into the line and shove it all the way through the car. So that's why we weren't getting any fuel even with the brand new pump. I filled up our Gatorade with some relatively clean fuel, and I'm gonna set it up actually in the trunk and run the hose from above it down into the pump and see if we can get fluid out that way. And if that works, I guess I'll remount the tank, see if I can get fuel all the way up to the front of the car. So I'll get working on that, and you guys will see the not stupid version of what I was supposed to do. Good news, guys. With our new updated test, we got the results we wanted. Let me run you through the absolute jerry-rigged redneck monstrosity that we've got going on. So, the fuel pump. The new fuel location is our Gatorade bottle full of fuel. Our beautiful catch can because I'm just reusing an old hose that came in the vehicle, so it wasn't really long enough, so we kind of did that. But the best part is there's fuel in the bottom of our cup, which means this pump is running pressure. And I think if I keep the Gatorade bottle set up and then run the hose, connect the fuel pump back up to the hard lines that run to the front of the car, we should hopefully get fuel out of our fuel filter. So finally, we're making progress on this thing. Also, this is about the most American drink you can have. America Monster in the Smith & Wesson koozie. Anyways, I'm gonna work on getting the fuel pump hooked up to the hard lines, and then another catch can situation up at the end of the fuel filter, and then start cranking it and see what happens. Update you guys then. All right, figured I'd show you guys really quick. I hooked all the fuel lines up in the back. I ran it all up to here, and then ran this hose into our catch cup, and we're getting fuel pressure. So it's making it through the lines. It looks relatively clean. If we go back here, well, let's see if I can get you guys to see it. Maybe. Our redneck fuel tank is doing what it's doing. We got a slight fuel leak at the pump, but I believe that's just from a cracked line, so I'm not worried about that too much. All right. Screwdriver here. All right, give us some cranks. Go ahead. Keep going. Gonna have to run this thing on starting fluid. All right, give it some more. Whoa!
Smell?
A little bit of backfire from the starting fluid.
Dang.
Right.
So what did you learn?
I learned that we're getting spark, but we're not getting fuel.
Was I doing my job right?
Yeah, you're doing good. It was just running off the starting fluid. Oh, you smell that?
What's that smell?
It's the exhaust. It smells good. So I'll just tell you to crank it, and then I'll let you know when I want you to stop. And I'll actuate this guy here, and I'll spray the starting fluid in. All right, start cranking it. Ooh, we got it. Give me my hoodie. We're good. Some backfire. Look at that.
Whoa, what was that?
That was fun. Right. So there goes my hair. Warm it up a couple times. Alright, this thing runs so rough though, but come on. So sick. Oh. There's fuel there. There's fuel down there. There's fuel leaking over there. Right, well. Oh man, you guys. I am so freaking happy. I am so excited. This is probably the biggest progress I've made since fitting this thing on a trailer and taking it over to my garage. Wow. We got it running. Basically, the problem was there was an air leak in our fuel line. So basically we weren't getting proper fuel pressure into our fuel rail. That was kind of the reason why we couldn't get the engine running in the first place, is we didn't get adequate fuel pressure up to the lines because it was pulling in air instead of fuel. So I buttoned that up and got solid flow. I checked it again to make sure the fuel came out, and it filled up our cup quite a bit after just a few seconds. I'll kind of show you what we got right about here. This is only about a few seconds worth of running, and it filled the cup up about a third, as opposed to just a little trickle after tons and tons of priming. So that is big news. We have the engine running now. It's running really rough, but it's running. That was kind of the goal of this video. So I'll kind of run you through my plan for this next bit. Ideally, I want to be able to put this thing back on the ground, fill the tank up, and see if I can move it up and down the street. So in order to get that taken care of, fuel's leaking out of here. Fuel's leaking out at the fuel pump. Fuel is leaking out of both ends, actually. The clutch doesn't engage. We have no brakes. Well, the clutch engages kind of. We have no brakes, and you can't really see it, but this tire holds no air. So I'm gonna create a checklist. Next video, I'm gonna get all the stuff together that I need. Bleed the brake system, bleed the clutch system, get the fuel lines situated, no leaks, proper clamps, put the fuel tank back up under the car, run all the lines there so that we have a reliable fuel source. And then I believe, also change the oil. I believe the main culprit for the rough idle is one of two things. One, this guy is original, and like I mentioned in the first video when I kind of ran through the car, this is your airflow sensor. So it's got a flap in here that basically gets pulled open with vacuum, and that tells the engine how much air is going in there, and then in turn it tells it how much fuel to inject with the L-Jet batch fire system. Just squirts them all at the same time. That's what the batch fire means. But I think I'm going to adjust the timing a bit, button up the fuel lines, bleed our hydraulic systems, make sure this guy's running how he should, and then probably take it for a rip, to be honest. Just a quick little roll up and down the road, and then we can work on reliability things. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys so much for following along. This is big progress with this project. I'm so happy. The wait was worth it. I was waiting for like a month for all this stuff to show up, but I hope you guys are as excited as me for what we've got planned in the future. This knocks like a huge thing off the list, is making sure this vehicle is actually going to be able to run. So that's going to be all for today. I'll see you guys next time when we can actually start making progress on getting this thing moving. So. Beep, 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 beep.